Hi, everybody. Let's go ahead and get started. We are up to 11 people logged on now, so that's a little bit better. And I'll turn on my camera and introduce myself. Let's see. There we go. Hi there. I'm Alan Reed. I'm a traffic engineer for the city of Greenville, and I run the traffic calming program. The other panelist on our call tonight is Celeste Smith, and she is our admin, and she helps me run these meetings and keeps the questions organized. So without further ado, let's get started. Oh, I did see that we have a couple council people on, so I want to thank them or recognize them. Councilmember Will Brasington and Councilmember Russell Stahl have joined us. So thank you guys for sharing your evening with us and joining us. We know you probably have a busy schedule, so it means a lot that you're here. All right, so this is the traffic calming meeting for the Belhaven study area. And let's go through, first we're going to go through a couple of participation things just to make sure you can confidently operate the WebEx platform. So this is what the right side of your screen should look like. You should have a Q&A box and a panelist or a participants box, excuse me. If you don't see that on your screen, there are two buttons in the corner that you should be able to click and make those boxes appear. What I'm going to do, I'm going to run through a short presentation about the traffic calming program. And along the way, if you have any questions, or at the end, if you would like to type a question, you can do so in the Q&A box. And make sure you please submit that to all panelists. That way Celeste and I can both see it. She helps me keep track of the questions throughout the presentation, make sure I don't miss anybody's question. So please do that to all panelists. That way we can both see it. If you'd rather speak to the group, everybody comes in muted automatically. But if you click the raise hand button, a little hand, whoops, it's jumping on me. A little hand will appear next to your name on my screen, and that way I will know that you have a question, and I will call on you, and after your question, you can just click that button again, and the hand will go away. So if I do call on you, like I said, everybody comes in muted automatically. The unmute button is grayed out. And so when you raise your hand, I will unmute you, and your screen will change to look like this. And if your button looks like this, that means we can all hear you, and you can go ahead with your question. So hopefully that makes sense. Everybody feels comfortable moving forward, and we'll go ahead and get into it. So here's a map of the Belhaven study area. I know y'all are, I'm sure, well aware this is a very new neighborhood. So I really don't know a lot about the traffic patterns here, so I'm interested to collect some data and figure it out. I know there's a lot of concern about Algonquin, especially by the park, so we'll certainly focus on that. And then if we'll get to it, but if anybody else has concerns about the other streets, we can discuss that as well. But because it's so new, this neighborhood's never been through the program. There are no traffic calming devices currently, so this is really a blank canvas. So we'll get into a little bit about the process and how we got to this point. Usually these things start, somebody either emails us or calls us and says, people are speeding down my street and I would like a speed hump. And so we send them an application. When they return that to us, they get a petition, and the petition requires them to get signatures representing 50% of the address points in the study area. Once that is done, then we schedule the kickoff meeting. And so that's where we are tonight. And moving forward, so where we're going to go from here, and just as a note, I'll go into each of these four steps in more detail in a minute. But after this, I will schedule the data collection. Once the data is collected, we'll put together a plan. Once that plan is finalized, it will all go to a vote for everybody in the study area, and then whatever gets approved in the vote will go to installation. So a little bit about data collection. We will collect data on pretty much all the streets in the neighborhood that we count for 48 hours, only on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, and only during the school year, and only on like non-holiday weeks. The data we're gathering is average speed, 85th percentile speed, and what that means is about 6 out of every 7 vehicles are going that speed or lower. So if your 85th percentile is 30 miles per hour, that means 6 out of every 7 cars are going 30 or slower than that. And the other thing is the average daily volume, or the number of cars. And we'll discuss why that's important in just a minute. So after the data is collected, I will summarize it. I'll put it in a nice, neat format for you to read, and I will send that to the study team. So the study team is a group of volunteers from the neighborhood who are tasked with developing the plan. So we see it that you live there, you're there every day, and so you are the most qualified to identify the problem areas and help come up with the solutions. So it's the study team's job to figure out where they want which devices, and they are also responsible for communicating that to the neighborhood as a whole. I will be available for engineering oversight and review. I do not participate in study team meetings, so it's sort of iterative. It's you decide you want 3 speed humps on one street and 2 on the other, and I help you figure out if that's feasible, what kind of spacing you will need, or whether or not the things you're proposing we are able to install them. So we'll go back and forth and eventually settle on something that hopefully everybody's happy with, and move it forward to the vote. So a little bit on which streets are eligible. The reason we collect daily volume, other than just it's good to know, is that's what qualifies a street for traffic calming. So to be eligible, it has to have more than 300 vehicles per day and fewer than 2,500 vehicles per day. So if it falls outside of that range, then that street is not eligible for traffic calming. There is an exception to the 300 minimum if it's less than 300, but that 85th percentile speed exceeds the speed limit by 10 miles per hour, then we will allow devices traffic calming on that street. And what goes in the plan, the 2 most popular by far are speed humps and landscape medians, and speed humps easily is the most popular traffic calming device. Speed humps are the most aggressive traffic calming device, the most effective. They do add 8 seconds of response time for emergency vehicles, which is important to know, and they can be a little bit noisy. Just a car hitting a vertical deflection like that does make a little bit of noise. So it's really important to make sure that whoever's house you decide to put it in front of is on board, because otherwise they'll vote against you and they'll get all their neighbors to vote against you just out of spite. I've seen it. It's not pretty. The other thing are landscape islands. Those are not as effective as speed humps, but what they do is narrow down the roadway, generally to 10 or 11 feet in each direction, and it allows for some beautification in your neighborhood. I've not measured the streets. The street does have to be wide enough to allow for landscape islands. I think we go for at least 24 feet wide, because we do a minimum 4-foot landscape island. So that's something we'll have to look at with the study team in more detail down the road. And so here are all of the available traffic calming devices. Like I said, the most popular speed humps. All they require is a neighborhood vote. Each column on this table represents an additional level of approval that a device requires. So speed hump, like I said, only a neighborhood vote. If you try to go with a traffic circle or something, then that would be have to be approved by the neighborhood and then get engineering approval. And then if you tried to install a chicane, then that would have to be approved by the neighborhood, get engineering approval, and then get city council approval. And this was available, should have been available in the meeting documents. And I have not attended one of my meetings, so I don't know how easy that is to access or if it was obvious to you. But if the study team needs this document again, we have it available. Feel free to ask. So once the study team settles on a plan, we will put it to a vote for the neighborhood. We will do a vote electronically. We have started that since the pandemic began. We have not run one yet, but we have it set up. We have a neighborhood who's just about ready. So we think that'll work well. In that situation, we would mail out the instructions to every household, and then you would log on, follow the instructions, log on, and cast your ballot. We would certainly make paper ballots available to those who would like to do it that way, but we think this would just make it a lot more streamlined. So a little bit about the vote. Each item that's proposed, each speed hump or island or whatever, is voted on individually. So some items can pass, some items can fail. To pass a device needs 70% yes votes, and that's based on the ballots that we receive, not on the total number of address points. And then anybody who is 18 or has a valid driver's license is eligible to vote. So whatever gets approved through the vote, whoever gets that 70% threshold, will be scheduled for installation. Everybody, once the vote comes in, is very anxious to know when their devices will be installed. That varies greatly based on how many speed humps we have in the queue or what else our crews have going on. So it can vary wildly from a month to 6. Just depending on what we have going on. It's also dependent on budget constraints, and that just means that if either there's not enough money in this fiscal year to pay for the plan, or if the plan is so expensive that we have to phase it over multiple years, just so we allow other neighborhoods to enough bandwidth to go through the process. Also, that would affect the installation schedule. So if you propose, 15 speed humps, and that's going to cost a lot of money and take up a whole budget for a year. So we would phase that over probably a couple of years, just so other neighborhoods get a chance to go through the process too. And then once we begin, how long does installation take? Generally, it's 1 week for a speed hump and just a couple of days for an island. And that's the end of my presentation. I did forget to mention that I'm recording this meeting, and we will put it on the public input site. The video should be available probably, if not tomorrow, then the beginning of next week. So if anybody couldn't be here tonight who wanted to attend, that will be available on the public input site for them to go back and watch. And my contact information is there, so feel free to reach out if you have any questions after viewing the video. There's something else I forgot to mention. Oh, the website, the public input website, is also where you go if you would like to sign up for the study team. So you follow that link right there. I think the question is active right now, so if you want to jump over there and sign up, feel free. But I guess what we're looking for in the study team is a good cross-section of the neighborhood. We don't want everybody on one street signing up and stacking the plan in their favor. So we like to have a good cross-section, make sure as many of the streets are represented as possible. I know this is a really big neighborhood, but we try to limit it to 5 or 6 people. It's just hard to get a large group together at one time when it gets bigger than that. So yeah, that's my presentation. I'll open the floor to questions. And like I said, feel free to type it in the box or click the raise hand button, and I will unmute you. Okay, we have a question. Mr. Sparkman.
Yes,
Go ahead.
yes, sir. First of all, thank you for having this meeting tonight. We really appreciate it. The one thing I would like to ask about, you were showing about the traffic calming devices. As you can see that we live right next to Legacy Park right there. And we have no crosswalks that go from the neighborhood into Legacy Park. And that's one of our concerns too, that people, when they're traveling fast, flying down the road there, there's no place for the people to actually exit and enter the park from the neighborhood right there. Would that could be considered to have that put in the plan also?
A crosswalk would not need to go through the plan. The trouble with crosswalks is the infrastructure on either end of it. It's not just paint on the ground, it's the ability to get all users across the street. And so that means we have to have accessible ramps on either end, and then someplace probably to go once you cross the street. So that's something we would look at, but it's not, a crosswalk would not be a traffic calming device that would need to go through this process. We could handle that separately at a staff level. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So if you're good, go ahead and click that raise hand button again, and then the little icon will go away. And if you have another question, that way I'll know if you think of another question. Thank you. All right, quiet crowd tonight. You're gonna make my job easy. Gonna make me earn it a little bit. Here we go. All right, is that Gris? I'm sorry, I can only see half your name. Griswold? Go ahead.
When do you need all the when is the sign up window open?
I'll leave it open until the data is collected, and because this neighborhood's so large, it'll take a good while for the data to get collected. And there are 1 or 2 neighborhoods ahead of you, so it won't be till end of February probably, because we're only able to put out 3 counters at a time. And there are so many streets in your neighborhood, and we can only do about 3 counts a week, and so it'll take 3 or 4 weeks just for your neighborhood alone. So there's plenty of time to sign up for the study team.
Okay, because I know someone who couldn't attend and she was interested in signing up. So
sure, yeah, have her watch the video and sign up if she is interested. Sure.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Let's see, Randy Green. Go ahead. Let's see. Why can I not unmute you? Do you have Mr. Green? I think it looks like you don't have a microphone. So I can't unmute you unless you are one of the call-in users, but I don't know which one you are because it just says call-in user number 4 or call-in user number 6. So if you want to type your question, that might be the easiest solution right now. I'm sorry that these virtual meetings are very complicated, but if you can, I don't know if you're able to type your question, or if we don't cover your question, I really apologize. Send me an email, call me tomorrow, and we'll sort it out. But I can't unmute you. I don't know how to get you to ask your question. It says you have a mic. I'm not doubting you, but it's not allowing me to unmute you. So I don't know how to open the floor to you. I'm sorry. So how about a stop sign? So stop signs are not considered traffic calming devices. Generally, they do. You have to slow down for a stop sign, but there are federal warrants for stop sign installations that have to be met. And it's, it requires a certain volume that I can guarantee you that none of these streets meet. And then putting up stop signs with the sole intent of slowing people down just breeds contempt for stop signs where we really need them. And so what we end up with is a stop sign running problem instead of a speeding problem, but there's probably still a speeding problem in between the stop signs. So we don't use stop signs as a traffic calming measure, but we do deploy them, for means of handling traffic, or if there is a blind spot, a spot with not enough sight distance, we can justify it that way, but we don't use it solely for the purpose of slowing people down. There was another question from Annette Moore. I know at some point our neighborhood will be connected to the Swamp Rabbit Trail. We get a lot of bikers, walkers, and runners with Legacy Park. Would you ever consider bike lanes? I'm concerned about street parking and cars traveling too fast. Bike lanes would not, first of all, that wouldn't be a traffic calming measure, so that's not something we would need to handle under this program, but we would certainly have to have enough width for bike lanes. And again, I haven't measured your streets, so I don't know how wide your streets are. But that's an option. We don't do a lot of long lines like that, without a big capital project. So it's something we could explore if we felt like there was the volume to warrant it, but that's not something that would need to go through the traffic calming program. Let's see, unmute Mary Green. She's on the line. Okay. Let me see if I can do that, Mr. Green. Let's see. I'm sorry, I don't see a Mary Green on my list. I apologize. I'm sorry that these virtual meetings are imperfect, to say the least. So I'm really sorry that I can't call on you. Feel free, if I don't cover your question, feel free to call me tomorrow. I'd be happy to talk to you about anything, any of your concerns. Mr. Sparkman says streets are 27 feet wide. So at 27 feet, we would need 8 for bike lanes, 4 feet on either side. So that would only leave 19 feet of travelway. So we would need a bare minimum 20, probably 22. So that's probably not going to work. But if we feel like there's a need for bike lanes later, we can talk about that. But not something that we need to handle right now. Is there any way to limit people from parking on the road next to the neighborhood pocket parks? I mean, yes, we can always put up no parking signs, but it's a slippery slope. If it sounds like I don't know who it is who's parking next to the neighborhood pocket parks, but we allow parking on the curb of low volume streets like these. So I would caution against starting to throw up no parking signs around your neighborhood. One, it's just sign clutter, it looks bad. And two, it's just, if we do it here, why don't we do it over there? Now you're limiting the ability of the people right next to the park to have guests park near their house. It gets very complicated. You start stepping on a lot of toes. So I try not to put up signs unless we feel like there is a significant need. See, is there anything we can do about people parking at the intersections? Yeah, like parking enforcement is really just installing signage. So it's a balancing act of putting up signs and the police's ability to enforce it. So I mean, it is a problem when people park too close to the intersections. But do you want a bunch of signs around every intersection that say no parking? That's the trade-off, because otherwise we don't really have a way to restrict it. But if there is a time of the week, a time of the day where that is a problem, let me know. We can do a field review and determine, how serious the problem is and what kind of mitigation options we have. Because if it's a really small amount of time and we can just, get police out there to issue a warning or something, that might hopefully push the problem away for a while and we can avoid installing signs. But again, I would caution just starting to throw up no parking signs around your neighborhood. Let's see. Scrolling back, make sure I didn't miss any questions. Mr. Green, I'm sorry, I missed your question earlier. There are many strollers at Algonquin and Broadell crossing the road every day. How about how to stop or slow the car? So that's, speed humps around the neighborhood. It's a great way to slow cars down. That's the most aggressive form of traffic calming. And so, that's sort of your best bet. Signage, I've never installed a sign that slowed anyone down. So, these children at play signs, we don't do those. And, caution, like neighborhood zone or something that is generally does not curb driver behavior. Vertical obstructions in the road generally curb driver behavior. So I would think a good plan full of speed humps would probably solve most of the problems with speeding. Okay, I'm gonna scroll back up through, make sure I didn't miss another one. I think I've got it. I think I got everybody's question. Let's see, okay, here, good question. What are the duties of the study members? So the study team's job is to come up with the plan, number one. So which devices you want to put where. And then they're also tasked with communicating that plan to the neighborhood. It's important to keep your neighbors informed of the things you're proposing, especially those who might have a device in front of their house. So that's generally it. It's not a huge time commitment. Probably a handful of hour-long meetings, maybe 2, no more than 3 meetings to discuss your plan. A lot of groups can do it by meeting once and then handling everything else through email. And most groups that have met since last March have done so virtually, and that's worked pretty well. So it's not a huge time commitment. Don't not do it for that reason. So hopefully that answers your question. All right. Ms. Griswold, do you have another question? You can go ahead.
Yes, I was just wondering, when does your study start?
So I don't know that off the top of my head. Like I said, I think there are 2 neighborhoods ahead of you for data collection. So whenever they're done, you would begin the next week. So I'm guessing sometime beginning of February, second week of February, something like that. That's when we would begin, and it'll probably take 3. I haven't counted the streets in your neighborhood, but probably 3 or 4 weeks to collect data, just because there are so many different streets in your neighborhood. But hopefully that. Go ahead.
What does the equipment look like? I mean, will people be aware that this study is going on?
So if you're looking for it, you'll probably be able to spot it, but they're not the tubes that some companies lay across the road. We don't do tube counts. Ours are magnetic squares about as big as my head that we put down and then put a gray piece of adhesive over the top, so it's sort of blends with the road. But like I said, if you're looking for it, you'll probably say, hey, that's probably a counter, but it's not immediately obvious, and we like to keep it that way so that people don't try to skew the data for us. So I'm not gonna send out an email saying, hey, data collection starts this week. We'll just go do it, and then I'll let you know when it's done.
Okay, and it's in the road itself. It's not on somebody's property.
No, it's just laid right on the road, and it's two of them, one in each lane, with a piece of adhesive over each one, and then we come cut it out.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, great questions tonight. I appreciate y'all being here. Appreciate your participation. Being willing to ask questions, speak up, makes it a lot more fun. So if anybody is furiously typing away, I will stick around for a few minutes, or if you think of something. But also my contact information is there if you wake up in the middle of the night with a question you forgot to ask. So feel free to reach out anytime you think of something. Please go sign up for the study team. That should be active right now. So jump over there, get in the mix, let your voice be heard. And yeah, so if there's nothing else, wait, I think question came in. Do counters measure speed also? Yes, so we will be collecting the average speed and what we call the 85th percentile speed. So that's 6 out of every 7 cars going that speed or slower. So we'll report those metrics back to the study team. And then there's another question, will those be placed only near the park on Algonquin or on other streets? No, we'll place them on as many streets as we can. I don't want to count too many streets because it'll take too long to collect the data and it'll push your study out forever. But as many as I feel like would give us a good cross-section of what's going on in your neighborhood. But no, all the streets in the study area, we will evaluate for eligibility for traffic calming, not just Algonquin. All right, like I said, I will stick around for a couple minutes in case somebody's working on a question or something. But if there's nothing else, I appreciate y'all being here. I apologize, Mr. Green, for our technical difficulties. Please call me tomorrow if we didn't get to your question or there's something else you want to discuss. But we'll adjourn, and I hope everybody has a great night. Oh, Mr. Green, you're still here. What is the difference between a circle with a ring and landscaping? I'm assuming you are talking about this one. Circles with or without outer rings. So I'm not exactly sure what that meant. This document has been around since the dawn of time, I think, but I assume that just means an outer circle. There are some circles, some traffic circles where you just put a landscaped median in the center with nothing on the outside. But you could also construct an outer circle, like a traditional roundabout, and have it actually operate, like a roundabout rather than just a four-way intersection with a center island. So I believe that's it, but in 5.5 years of doing this, I've not had any neighborhood do a traffic circle, so I have not had to get into those details at this point. But that's a good question. And you asked about landscaping. I'm trying to figure out. Oh, so I think that is usually like street trees or something to that kind of narrows the perceived width for the driver. So I think y'all have street trees in your neighborhood, so that would probably not be a great option. But again, anything that's not a speed hump is simply attempting to basically play mind games with the driver to give them the perception that they're going faster than they should be. And if you were able to throw the kitchen sink at it and do all of those things without speed humps, you might get the result you want. But speed humps are easily the quickest, easiest means of slowing down traffic. I'm really sorry that I couldn't open your mic for you tonight. So I really apologize for those difficulties. But if you have anything else to discuss, be happy to talk with you. So hopefully that answers your question. Thank you for being here and working with us, and have a great night.